It started with a voicemail. Fuzzy, distant, like it had been recorded through wind. Hey, honey, it's Mom. You should come out here. They found something at the site. It's weird, but your dad thinks it might be valuable. She laughed, the way she always did when she didn't want to sound nervous. Anyway, come if you can. Love you. That was it. No panic. No urgency. Just that strange note in her voice. Something halfway between excitement and fear. I must have replayed it 5 times before I grabbed my keys. The drive out to the countryside always made me restless. 2 hours of endless road. Yellow grass bending under wind. Sky hanging low and gray like it was waiting to collapse. Mom always said the place felt honest. I always thought it felt empty. Dad had finally bought land. A small plot outside of Ridgefield. He used to talk about it, like it was salvation. A place where you can see the stars again, kiddo. He said the last time I'd visited. I'd smiled, said I'd come out more often. Never did. When I pulled up, there were trucks everywhere. Engines off. Doors open. Men in hard hats standing around the pit, like they were staring into a grave. Dad was by the edge. Boots caked in mud, hands in his jacket pockets. He didn't wave until I called out. Hey! He looked up, tried to smile. You made it. What's going on? He pointed down. See for yourself. I walked to the edge, the cold wind cutting through my jacket. The foundation pit was deeper than I'd imagined. Maybe 12 feet down, surrounded by clay walls. At the bottom, half buried in the dirt, was something I didn't have words for. It wasn't a rock. Wasn't metal either. A sphere. Maybe 4 feet wide, smooth, but not perfect. Like it had been shaped by something alive. Its surface shimmered when the light hit it, colors moving beneath, the black like oil on water. It was beautiful, and wrong. There was a hum too. Not loud. Not exactly a sound. More like pressure inside your chest. The kind of vibration you feel before a storm. I climbed down. Couldn't help it. Each step down the ladder made the hum stronger. Mom's voice behind me. Tight. Worried. Don't touch it. I stopped. Hand just inches away from the surface. The hum was in my bones now. I'm not, I said quietly. But I was lying. To her, to myself. Dad came down after me, flashlight in hand. County says, there's no record of anything buried here, he muttered. Not military. Not geological. He sounded frustrated. Like the universe had broken some rule. He thought he understood. Then one of the workers, an older guy named Hank, spoke up. Been doing this 30 years, he said. Never seen anything like it. Feels alive. I didn't answer. Couldn't. Because the hum inside me was sensing with my heartbeat. 1, 2. 1, 2. The same rhythm. I stepped back. But it followed. By the time the sun started to set, the county had sent a representative. Then the university. People in suits taking samples, scanning it with devices I'd never seen before. Everyone acting like they knew what they were doing. No one really did. They told us to stay away, to keep quiet, said they'd take it somewhere safe. Dad hated that. "This is our land," he said. "We should get a say." Mom just wanted it gone. "Whatever that thing is, it's not supposed to be here." Me. I didn't say a word, because the hum hadn't stopped. Even when they lifted it onto a truck and drove away, I could still feel it. Deep inside, like something had taken root. That night I couldn't sleep. Every time I closed my eyes, I saw it. That swirling black surface, shifting colors, those impossible patterns that twisted in on themselves. I dreamed of spirals, lines bending into shapes that didn't belong to geometry or nature. And that sound, that endless hum, louder now, vibrating through my ribs. I woke drenched in sweat, heart racing, room silent, and for one insane moment, I thought the hum was coming from me. I told myself it was just stress. Too much coffee. Not enough sleep. But the next morning, I stood in my kitchen, dropped my mug, and it didn't fall. It hovered, suspended between air and gravity. My hand froze. My breath stopped. The mug trembled, as if waiting for permission. Then it shattered. Pieces everywhere. I stared at the floor for a long time, shaking, trying to convince myself it hadn't happened. That I'd imagined it. That it was a trick of light or sound or anything that wasn't real. But it was real, and I knew where it started. The sphere. That hum. That impossible heartbeat that had followed me home. That's how it began. Not with thunder or fire or revelation. Just a call from my mother. And a thing buried under the dirt that shouldn't have been there. Whatever it was, it hadn't been asleep. It had been waiting. The headaches came first. Not the kind you take a pill for. These lived somewhere behind my eyes. Deep, pulsing things. As if something inside my skull was trying to find a way out. They started 3 days after the sphere was taken. By the end of the week, I was waking up drenched in sweat. Sheets tangled around me, like I'd been fighting someone in my sleep. Sometimes I'd hear that same hum. Faint at first, like it was miles away. Other times, it felt like it was inside the walls, vibrating through the floorboards, crawling beneath my skin. I told myself it was stress. I told myself a lot of things. None of them helped. Mom called again the next weekend. Dad finished the porch. She said, cheerful, breathless. He wants you to see it. I told her I'd try to come out soon. She paused. You sound tired. Yeah, just work. I lied. You sure that's all? I wanted to tell her. Wanted to say, something's wrong. I feel different. Not sick, just wrong. But how do you say that to your mother? So I said, yeah, I'm fine. She sighed. Okay. Well, we miss you. When I hung up, I stared at my reflection in the microwave door. For a second. I swear, it moved after I did. That night I dreamed again. Not spirals this time. Something else. I was back at the construction site. The pit was empty. But the dirt was moving. Breathing. Almost. And beneath it, I could see light. Faint. Blue, green, flickering like it was alive. Then, a sound. Low. Drawn out. A word I didn't recognize. When I woke, the room was dark, except for my alarm clock's red glow. And the hum was back. Louder now. So loud I thought the walls would split. I sat up. The lamp on my nightstand flickered once. Twice. Then it burst. Glass scattered across the floor. The bulb smoked. I didn't move. Didn't breathe. Every hair on my body stood up. Electricity crawling over my arms. When I looked down, the air around my hands shimmered. Like heat on asphalt. Like invisible threads vibrating in rhythm with the hum. And when I moved my fingers, just slightly, the shattered glass shifted with them. I didn't sleep after that. Didn't even try. Just sat there until sunrise, hands shaking, staring at the broken lamp and the tiny cuts on my fingers. By morning, I convinced myself it was an electrical surge. Bad wiring. Maybe I'd hallucinated the rest. But when I reached for my phone, the screen lit up on its own. Messages, pictures, videos, all flickering, overlapping. The pixels twisting into those same geometric patterns from the sphere. I dropped it. It landed face down, still glowing. The next few days blurred. I went to work, pretended to be normal, smiled at coworkers, answered emails, ate lunch I couldn't taste. But I could feel it. Something inside me listening. Every time someone spoke, I could sense their voice before I heard it. Their words came like waves, slow, heavy, predictable. And sometimes, I'd finish their sentences without meaning to. Like my brain had already processed the sound before it reached my ears. One of them, Rachel, from accounting, noticed. "Hey, are you okay? You seem a little off." I almost told her everything. Almost. Then her pen rolled across the table, stopped halfway, and started moving backwards. I froze. She didn't see it. No one did. Only me. That night, I went to the park. Needed space. Air. Something normal. Sat on a bench, watching the wind move through the trees. For a moment, it was quiet. Peaceful, even. Then a bird landed nearby. Tiny. Brown feathers. It tilted its head, looking at me. And then it stopped moving. Not froze, stopped. Mid-hop. Wings half folded. Like time had forgotten about it. The world went silent. Wind gone. Sound gone. I couldn't breathe. Didn't dare move. Then, with a single thought, move. The bird finished its motion, flapped once, and flew away. The noise came back all at once. Leaves rustling. A distant siren. The sound of my heartbeat slamming against my ribs. I didn't go home right away. I just sat there, trying to convince myself I wasn't losing my mind. When I finally did go home, I couldn't shake the feeling I was being watched. Not followed. Watched. Like something was studying me, measuring every thought, every hesitation. I tried calling Mom again. No answer. Tried Dad. Nothing. Left messages I didn't remember recording. When I played them back, the hum was there again. Faint, under my voice. 3 nights later, I dreamed of the sphere again. Only this time, it wasn't buried. It was floating. High above the ground, spinning slowly. The patterns on its surface glowing brighter with every rotation. And then, I heard a voice. Not words, not exactly, but meaning, emotion, something between longing and command. When I woke, the hum wasn't just in my head anymore. It was in the air, in the walls, in the floor. I went to the window, looked out at the city, and for the briefest moment, the streetlights flickered, one by one, in perfect rhythm with my heartbeat. The next morning, I called my parents again. Still nothing. The number just rang and rang, then went dead. That's when I knew something had changed. Not just in me, in them, in all of us. And whatever the sphere was, it wasn't finished. Not yet. I didn't go to work the next day. I sat on the couch, staring at the black TV screen until I realized it wasn't black. It was off, but light was still moving across it. Slow waves of faint blue and green. The same colors that shimmered beneath the sphere's surface. I tried to look away, but the reflection of my own face caught me. My eyes were glowing. Faint, almost invisible. But when the light from the window hit, just right, there was a shimmer there. A pulse. The hum vibrated deep in my ribs, like a second heartbeat keeping perfect time. I shut my eyes tight, pressed my palms against them until I saw stars. "Stop," I whispered. "Please stop." When I opened them again, the shimmer was gone. But the hum wasn't. It never left. I told myself I needed to see my parents, to make sure they were okay. The drive back to Ridgefield felt longer this time. The sky hung low, the color of old steel. As I passed the outskirts of town, I noticed something strange. Every time I came near a cell tower or power line, the hum inside me deepened. The radio died 5 minutes in. Just static. Then a sound cut through the static. Not a song, not a voice, but a low repeating pulse. 3 beats. Pause. 3 beats. Pause. Over and over. I turned the radio off. The hum in my chest kept the same rhythm. When I reached the property, everything looked the same, and not. The house was there. Finished. Perfect. Exactly like Dad had promised. But the air felt wrong. Too still. Too heavy. The front door was wide open. I called out, "Mom, Dad." No answer. I stepped inside. The first thing I noticed was the smell. Burnt metal and something else. Ozone. The scent of a thunderstorm, right before it breaks. The living room lights were on, but flickering, and the walls were humming. Not metaphorically, literally. Low, Vibrations rippled across the drywall, like sound had been trapped inside. On the dining table, Dad's coffee mug still sat half full. Steam long gone. I touched the handle. It was warm. The hum grew louder as I moved down the hall. My parents' bedroom door was open. The bed untouched. Closet doors open. Clothes half hanging from hangers. Then, a noise from the basement. A thud. I froze. The hum in my chest synced to it perfectly. I knew before I even saw it that it was there. The basement was dark, except for one light. A work lamp on the floor, tilted against a wall. And in the center of the room, resting on the concrete like it had never left, was the sphere. No tarp, no chains, no scientists, just there. The hum filled the entire room, thick enough to feel like air was vibrating. I took a step closer. Colors rippled across its surface, deeper this time. Red, violet, shades I didn't have names for. The spirals had changed, too. They weren't static anymore. They moved, spinning like they were alive. "Mom," I called, voice shaking. "Dad." No answer. But when I said, "Dad," the sphere brightened. Just for a second. Like it was responding. My knees felt weak. Part of me wanted to run. But another part, the part that had been humming for weeks, wanted to touch it. And I did. The moment my fingers brushed the surface, every light in the house went out. Darkness swallowed everything, except for the glow between my hands and the sphere. It wasn't cold. It wasn't warm. It felt like static wrapped in liquid. Alive, breathing, thinking. And then, a voice, not from outside, from inside me. Low, layered, mechanical but human. "You are connected." I stumbled back, hitting the wall. Who said that? No answer. Just the hum again. Louder. Faster. Then another word, inside my head. Anchor. The next thing I knew, I was on the floor. The light returned. The sphere had stopped moving, and something was wet on my face. Blood. My nose was bleeding. The hum was still there, but softer now. Gentler. Like it had done what it came to do. I looked at the sphere again. Its colors dimmed, almost fading. It looked tired. Then, I noticed something I hadn't before. Symbols carved into the concrete beneath it, burned into the floor. Circles, patterns, words that weren't words. And in the middle of them, a handprint. Dad's. I stayed there for hours. The sun came up. The hum quieted. And when I finally stood, I realized something that made my stomach turn. The sphere hadn't just come back. It had been brought back. Someone, maybe my father, had taken it from the government, hidden it here. And now it had found me again. I left the house just after dawn. Didn't take anything. Didn't lock the door. Halfway down the road, my phone rang. Unknown number. I answered. "Mr. Ellis," a voice said. Calm, rehearsed. "We need you to stay where you are." "Who is this?" "We're with the agency. that recovered the object from your parents' property. My grip tightened. What do you want? To make sure you're safe, he said. We know what's happening to you. I almost hung up. Then, he said, your father brought it back. He thought he could control it. He couldn't. Silence stretched between us. Where are my parents? I finally asked. The voice didn't hesitate. Gone. Then the line went dead. I don't remember dropping the phone. I don't remember screaming. I just remember standing in the middle of that empty road. The hum in my chest shaking, every thought apart, until only one remained. It's not done with me. Whatever that sphere is, whatever it's turning me into, it's not finished. And if they took my parents, I'm going to find out why. The road stretched for miles, empty, endless, pale light spreading over fields of dead grass. I don't even remember how I got back to the city. The steering wheel might as well have been turning itself. Every few minutes, I'd glance in the mirror, half expecting to see headlights behind me. But there was nothing. Just me and the hum. It wasn't faint anymore. It was a pulse, a rhythm. It had learned my heartbeat and then replaced it. Sometimes, in the quiet between seconds, I could almost hear words inside it. A kind of whisper. That wasn't a sound. Deeper. Below. Find us. When I got home, I shut the blinds, unplugged every device I owned, and sat in silence. Didn't help. The hum used the silence to get louder. I tried to sleep. Couldn't. Every time I closed my eyes, I saw the same image. The basement, the sphere, and my father's handprint burned into the floor. He'd known. He'd touched it, same as me. And somehow, he'd brought it back. Why? To study it. To protect it. Or because, like me, he couldn't let it go. The next morning, I found an envelope slid under my door. No address, no markings, just my name, printed neatly on the front. Inside was a single photograph. Grainy, infrared, time-stamped from 2 days ago. It showed the basement, the sphere, and a figure standing next to it. My father. Except that was impossible. The photo was dated, after they said he'd disappeared. There was a note, too, a single line typed D. He's still trying to finish what he started. I didn't have time to think. Outside, an engine idled. Black SUV parked across the street. 2 silhouettes inside. Government, had to be. I slipped the note into my pocket, grabbed my jacket, and went out the back door. No plan. No destination. Just the growing certainty that I was being pulled somewhere. By the hum, by the thing inside me. By noon, I was downtown. Crowds made it easier to disappear. At first, I thought I was safe. Then the hum shifted. Not louder, sharper, focused. Like it had found something. A billboard flickered overhead. Digital ad screens, glitching into the same spirals I'd seen before. People stopped, staring. A few pulled out their phones. Then, for half a second, Every screen in the city went black, and a message appeared. Project ARKHAIM. Access point confirmed. Then it was gone. The hum faded, leaving me trembling in the middle of the street, while everyone else went back to scrolling, oblivious. I whispered to myself, "What the hell is Project Arkham?" That night, I checked into a motel under a fake name. Used cash. Left my phone in a dumpster 5 blocks away. Sleep didn't come, but thoughts did. The sphere. The handprint. The way my father used to say that the ocean was the last honest mirror. What if he hadn't stopped studying it? What if Project Arkham wasn't government at all? What if it was him? At 3:17 a.m., I woke to the sound of static. Not from the TV, from inside the walls. A faint, rhythmic crackle. Like a signal trying to get through. I moved closer, pressed my ear to the plaster. The noise shifted, deepened, turned into words. Ellis. Connection stable. Subject synchronized. My blood ran cold. Subject synchronized. They were listening to me. I ripped the lamp cord from the wall, grabbed my bag, and ran. An hour later, I was outside the city. Abandoned industrial park. Rusted fences. Half-collapsed warehouses. The hum inside my chest led me there. No map. No logic. Just a pull. And that's when I saw it, a faded sign, bolted to a concrete wall. Arkham Industries, restricted area. So it was real. And my father had worked here. The gate was locked, but the metal was old. I reached out, barely touching it. And the entire latch snapped. The sound echoed through the empty lot. I slipped inside. The facility was massive. Long corridors lit by dying fluorescent bulbs. Every door labeled with faded numbers. B12, C9, D17. Most were sealed. But down one hallway, a door stood open, humming faintly. Inside was a control room. Dust-covered monitors. Old tape drives, half-dead computers. I pressed a key. One screen flickered to life. A single file name glowed. Hadaeld, Koarad, Prarl. The same name from the sphere's export, manifest. I'd overheard the scientists mention at my parents' house. I clicked it. The monitor filled with data, coordinates, schematics, and a live feed of something pulsing underground. And then, a line of text, subject07, a CTIV, subject06, ter MNT subject05, einentiv subject04, res is again. At the bottom of the list subject01, dr, elus, my father. And beside it, one word. Ra, etivatid. I stumbled back from the screen. Heart pounding. He wasn't dead. He was alive. Or something close to it. Before I could think, a voice came through the old intercom. Quiet, tired, and all too familiar. Son, you shouldn't be here. I froze. Dade. You need to leave. The speakers crackled. I made a mistake. I thought I could understand it. But it's not what we think. It's not a machine. It's a seed. A pause. Breathing. I tried to stop them. Tried to bury it again. But it's spreading. Through signals. through us. My throat tightened. Where are you? Static filled the line. Then one final whisper. Underneath. The intercom went dead. And the hum in my chest, it answered. I turned toward the corridor. At the far end, a stairwell descended into darkness. The air down there vibrated, almost liquid with sound. Every instinct screamed to run. But my father's voice echoed in my head. Underneath. So I went down, step by step, deeper. The hum growing louder with every breath, until the lights above flickered out completely. And from the dark below, I saw it again. The same shifting glow. The sphere, waiting. The stairs went on longer than they should have. Concrete steps twisting down into blackness, the air growing warmer, heavier, until breathing felt like swallowing dust. Every 10 steps, a flickering emergency light hummed to life, bathing the walls in red. Each one pulsed in sync with the hum inside my chest. Like my heartbeat had become part of the building. Somewhere above, a metal door slammed. Then another. They knew I was here. Didn't matter. I couldn't stop now. At the bottom, the stairwell opened into a wide tunnel. Steel walls, pipes dripping condensation, floors slick with rust. On the wall, LVL9, appears ONLLONLY. The air down here buzzed. It wasn't just sound. It was vibration. Thick enough that every step sent a ripple through the soles of my boots. The hum in my chest matched it perfectly. It was guiding me. There were doors on either side. Thick, reinforced, some welded shut, others marked with faded warnings. Biozard. IGH Veltage. ASIGNL Cone TAINMEMT. But the door at the far end was different. It was open. Light spilled through. That same impossible color. Not white, not blue, but something between. Something that hurt to look at. I followed it. Inside was a chamber the size of a cathedral. Rows of old computer terminals lined the walls, their screens alive with static. Cables hung from the ceiling, like roots, connected to something massive in the center of the room. The sphere, or what was left of it. It had changed. The surface wasn't smooth anymore. It had split open like a cocoon. Layers of black glass peeling away to reveal a swirling core of light. The air around it shimmered. I could feel heat radiating from it, though the room itself was cold. Standing beside it, hand resting on the console, was my father. For a long time, I couldn't speak. I didn't believe what I was seeing. He looked older, thinner, eyes sunken, beard streaked with white. His clothes hung loose, stained with oil and something darker. But it was him. Dade. He turned, slow. When he saw me, his expression collapsed. Relief, fear, exhaustion all tangled together. God, you shouldn't have come. I took a step forward. I thought you were dead. I should be. He looked back at the sphere, its glow painting his face. I buried it once. They found it. I tried to stop them. The agency. The contractors. The scientists. but I made it worse. He took a shaky breath. They wanted to weaponize it. But it's not a weapon, son. It's alive. I stared at him. Alive? What are you talking about? He gestured to the sphere. It's a seed. A remnant from something that existed before our world. Before humanity. It waits for contact. Once someone touches it, it binds. It learns. It grows. My pulse pounded in my ears. You mean it's inside me? He nodded slowly. Yes. You're the link now. The host. That's why you can hear it, feel it. You're its anchor in this world. I felt my legs weaken. You said that before. Through the intercom. He smiled faintly. I hoped you'd understand. It speaks through resonance, signal, vibration, frequency. It doesn't use language like we do. I swallowed hard. What does it want? He hesitated. To be remembered. He stepped closer. Listen to me, son. This thing doesn't think in years or lives. It thinks in ages. When it awakens, it connects everything it touches. Minds, machines, matter. It sees us as part of itself. Not separate. My head spun. You're saying it wants to absorb us. Not destroy. Merge. He looked away. But humanity isn't ready for that. We can't even live with each other. If it completes the connection, we'll lose what makes us human. I backed away, shaking my head. Then destroy it. I tried, he said. Twice. It rebuilt itself. A deep rumble rolled through the floor. The sphere pulsed brighter, the air vibrating like the inside of a jet engine. Dad winced. It's listening to us. You shouldn't have come near it. The signal, it recognizes you. What do you mean? It's reaching for you. I turned toward the sphere. The light inside was swirling faster, shapes forming and collapsing. Geometric, fractal, almost organic. I felt my body moving without permission, one slow step at a time. Don't touch it, Dad shouted, but it wasn't my hand that reached out. It was its. The hum became a roar. Light exploded through the room, flooding everything. My vision went white, then blue, then something beyond color. For a moment, there was nothing, no sound, no body, just thought. Then came the voice. Not my father's. Not mine. Connection established. Two frequencies synchronized. The words weren't spoken. They appeared in my head, like memories I didn't remember making. I could see through its eyes. Vast networks stretching through the earth. Structures buried miles deep. Other spheres, pulsing in the dark, like stars beneath the ground. Each one calling to the next. Each one awake. I gasped and stumbled backward, collapsing onto the floor. My father caught me, held me upright. What did you see? He asked. Others, I whispered. All over the world. He nodded grimly. Yes. That's what I was afraid of. They're all connected. And if they activate, there'll be no stopping it. He turned back to the console, fingers flying across the controls. What can still shut this one down? If we stop the transmission, we can delay it. The floor shook. Sparks burst from the cables above us. The sphere's light flared, blinding. Dad slammed his hand against the terminal. "It's overriding me!" "It's using your frequency." "It's using you." I staggered toward him. "Then disconnect me." "I can't." He looked at me. Really looked. The way a father looks when he realizes he's about to lose his child all over again. "There's only one way," he said softly. "You have to go into it." I stared at him. What does that mean? It's not physical anymore. It's signal. Thought. If you enter the core, if you let it take you, you might be able to shut it from the inside. That's suicide. He didn't deny it. "You told me once," I said quietly, "that we study what we love." He smiled, sad. I never stopped loving the unknown. The sphere pulsed again, louder, calling. I could feel it pulling at the edges of my mind, tugging like gravity. I looked at him one last time. If this works, the world goes on, he finished. And if it doesn't? He looked at the light. Then, maybe we weren't meant to. The hum became everything. Walls disappeared. Time disappeared. Even fear disappeared. I stepped forward, and the world swallowed me whole. There was no up or down inside the light. No air, no ground, no sound. Just an endless drift of color that wasn't really color. Shifting and folding like thought made visible. I tried to breathe, but breath was gone. Tried to speak, but there was nothing left that could make a sound. And yet, I was aware. Floating in something vast and alive. The hum that had followed me for weeks was no longer outside. It was me. Every pulse, every vibration, every shimmer of light belonged to the same frequency now. For a long moment, or maybe an eternity, I forgot who I was. Then came a flicker, a memory. My father's hand on my shoulder. The smell of coffee and sawdust in the half-built house. My mother's laugh. And suddenly, I remembered me. The light shifted. Shapes began forming around me. Immense patterns, moving faster than thought. Spirals. Circles within circles. Fractals that stretched into infinity. And within them, faces. Not human. Not exactly. Silhouettes made of energy. Watching, studying, whispering in tones that felt like music without sound. I tried to focus. Where am I? The answer came as feeling, not words. Something like home and origin layered on top of each other. You are inside the memory of creation. The voice wasn't one voice. It was thousands. It felt like the ocean speaking. Patient, ancient, inevitable. What are you? I thought. Because I couldn't speak. We are the remainder. The remainder of what? Of what was here before light, before life. We are the echo that remained when the first minds faded. We became the pattern. We wait for those who can hear it. The pattern, I whispered. The hum. The hum is the threshold. It is how we speak to the ones who remember. My thoughts twisted. Remember, I've never known you. Not in this life. And then, flashes of memory that weren't mine. Worlds covered in oceans. Cities made of light. Creatures communicating through resonance instead of words. A civilization that built the spheres. Not as weapons, but as seeds of themselves. To survive extinction. To be remembered. They buried them beneath worlds, waiting for something intelligent enough to listen. To answer. I tried to back away, but there was no space to move in. Only thought. You're trying to merge with us. To become whole again. If you do that, we'll cease to exist as we are. You misunderstand. You will not end. You will expand. I'll lose myself. Self is only the beginning. The light around me flickered. Faster now. Like a heartbeat accelerating. Images poured through me. Humans building, destroying, evolving, forgetting. You are the seventh connection. The seventh bridge. With you, the network completes. Once complete, the memory will awaken fully. What happens then? Will return. I could feel my mind splitting. Memories, voices, data. Billions of thoughts colliding at once. Somewhere inside that storm, my father's voice cut through. Ellis, listen to me. For the first time since stepping into the sphere, I heard sound again. I turned. He stood there. Or something shaped like him. Suspended in the same light. His outline shimmered, barely holding form. Dade, he smiled, eyes wet. It's trying to rewrite you. I couldn't stop it from taking me. But you can still fight. I don't think I can. Yes, you can. You're stronger than I was. The light around him pulsed, and for a second, I saw flashes of the man I remembered. Sitting by the window, staring into nothing, trying to find the courage to tell me what he'd done. It showed me everything, I said. They built the spheres to save themselves. I know. His voice cracked. And maybe they deserve to survive. But not by taking you. Not by taking us. The hum grew louder, angrier. The patterns twisting, collapsing, reforming faster and faster. He cannot stop what has begun. The voices said. The connection is complete. My father reached for me, his hand glowing white. You have to override it. You're linked. It listens to you. You can tell it no. I don't know how. Then remember who you are. The light surged. For a heartbeat, I saw everything. Every atom, every memory. Every heartbeat that had ever existed. And at the center of it all, me, small, fragile, human. I focused on that, on the feeling of weight, of warmth, of being alive. And I spoke, not with words, but with will. Stop. The universe froze. The hum faltered. The lights dimmed. Every shape dissolved into dust. And for a long, breathless moment, there was silence. Then the voice returned, softer, almost curious. You refuse completion. Yes. Why? Because we deserve the right to stay unfinished. The light trembled. Then, slowly, it faded. All around me, the patterns collapsed, unraveling into pure white. I felt myself falling. Not downward but backward. Pulled away from the core, from the seed, from everything. The last thing I heard before the world vanished was a whisper. Faint, almost gentle. We will wait. Then, darkness, when I opened my eyes. I was lying on the floor of the chamber. The sphere was gone. The walls were silent. The air was still. My father was beside me, motionless, eyes closed. For a second, I thought he was gone. Then he breathed. Weak, but alive. We stayed like that, for what felt like hours. Two survivors in the ruins of something neither of us could ever explain. Finally, he opened his eyes. Did you stop it? I nodded. For now. He looked away. Toward the empty space where the sphere had been. Then, you did what I couldn't. I swallowed hard. Dead. What happens if it wakes again? He didn't answer. Instead, he looked at me with that same tired smile I remembered from childhood. The one that said some questions don't have answers. Then he whispered, "Let's go home." We left the facility as the sun began to rise. Red light spilling over the horizon, washing the desert in color. The hum was gone. But deep down, in the quiet corners of my mind, something still listened, still waiting. And sometimes, when the world goes quiet enough, I swear I can hear it again. Not louder, just patient, just alive. For the first time in months, the world was quiet. No hum. No vibration beneath the skin. No invisible heartbeat hiding behind my pulse. Just the sound of the desert, wind sweeping through the empty lot where the facility had stood. The sun was climbing, pale orange spilling across the sand. It looked like any ordinary morning, except it wasn't. Nothing felt real anymore. Dad sat beside me on a slab of concrete, his hands trembling as he lit a match. It took him 3 tries to get the flame steady. Still works, he muttered, staring at the tiny fire as if it proved something. I didn't answer. I couldn't. The light on the horizon flickered once, almost like it remembered how to hum, and I felt that familiar pull deep inside me. For a heartbeat, I thought it was back. Then, it was gone again. Just the wind. We stayed like that for a while, neither of us talking. He was thinner now, older than I remembered. Like every year, he'd missed had caught up to him all at once. Finally, he said, "It's never really over, you know." I looked at him. The signal. He shook his head. The wanting. That word hung between us, heavier than any hum. I spent half my life wanting to understand what was beneath us. The other half trying to undo what I found. I don't know which was worse. I wanted to tell him it wasn't his fault. But it was. And maybe it was mine too. We found an old pickup behind the compound. Rusted, half buried. But it started after a few coughs of protest. We drove east, toward the highway. Every few miles, I caught him glancing at me, like he was afraid I'd vanish, or worse, start glowing again. When we hit the first town, I noticed something strange. No one looked at us. Not fear, not recognition, nothing. People moved like ghosts, eyes unfocused, voices low. The newsstands were gone. The televisions in shop windows flickered static. Radios played nothing but a faint hiss. Dad parked the truck and turned the key off. The silence that followed was too perfect. "What's wrong with them?" I asked. He rubbed a hand over his face. "Residual effect, maybe. The sphere's broadcast reached this far. It must have rewritten something." Rewritten. The way they hear. The way they feel. They're not possessed. Just muted. I watched a child drop an ice cream cone onto the sidewalk. He didn't cry. Didn't even blink. Just turned and walked away. It was worse than fear. It was indifference. That night, we stayed in an abandoned motel. No power, no water, but the stars still worked. Dad found some candles. We sat on the floor, backs against peeling wallpaper, watching the flame bend in the draft. He asked, "Do you still hear it?" I hesitated. "Sometimes." In the quiet, he nodded like he expected that. "It's part of you now. It doesn't go away. But it's weaker. The link's broken." I looked at him. "So what do we do?" He laughed softly. "We live. We build something small. We forget." "You really think we can?" He didn't answer right away. For a while. I woke before sunrise. Couldn't sleep. Dad was still out cold, snoring softly. One hand on his chest, like he was trying to keep his heart from leaving. I stepped outside. The desert air was cold enough to bite. The sky was a blur of stars fading into dawn. For a moment, I thought I saw movement. Faint lights far on the horizon, low to the ground. Not planes, not cars. They flickered once, twice, then vanished. It could have been nothing. But it felt like recognition. Back inside, I found Dad awake, staring at the candle stub that had burned out overnight. He said, "It spoke to me before you went in." I froze. What did it say? That it didn't hate us. He looked up, eyes glassy. That it was lonely. I sat down beside him. "You believe that?" "I don't know," he said. "But maybe that's what all this is. Maybe the universe just doesn't like being alone." Later that day, we reached the coast. The ocean stretched out in front of us, endless and calm. Sunlight dancing on the waves, like it hadn't seen what I'd seen. We sat in the sand, said nothing for a long time. Finally I asked, "Dade, if it wakes again, would you try to stop it?" He thought for a while, then smiled. "I think I'd just listen." That night, I dreamed again. Not of spirals, not of light. Just a single voice, soft and familiar, whispering through the static. When the silence ends, remember, we waited. I woke with tears on my face and the sound of waves breaking against the shore. But beneath that sound, deep enough that no one else would ever notice, the hum was back. Faint, gentle, almost like a heartbeat. The ocean looked endless in the dawn light, still, silver, unbothered. The kind of calm that only comes after something terrible has already happened. Dad was asleep beside the truck, curled up under a blanket we'd found in the motel. His face looked softer when he slept, like the years he'd lost had finally caught up to him and decided to rest too. I watched the tide roll in, each wave smaller than the last, as if the sea itself was hesitating. And under that quiet rhythm, faint, nearly imperceptible, I felt the hum. It wasn't loud. It didn't hurt. It was almost kind now, a steady vibration that felt alive, like a pulse shared between us and the ocean. I closed my eyes, let the wind sting my face, and, for a moment, I could almost pretend that everything was normal. Almost. The radio we'd salvaged from the motel crackled to life around noon. It shouldn't have. It hadn't worked since we found it. But then came the static. Slow, rhythmic, not random. I turned the dial. Nothing then. A voice. Faint, layered, familiar. Ellis. Connection restored. My stomach dropped. Not again. I hit the power, but it didn't turn off. The dial spun on its own. The speaker pulsed in time with my heartbeat. Do not fear. We have seen. We understand. Dad stirred awake, squinting at the sound. What the hell is that? I shook my head. It's them. They're back. He sat up slowly, rubbing his eyes. You shut it down. You said it was over. I thought I did. The voice came again, clearer now. We waited. The silence was long, but silence is never death. It is breath held between words. Dad frowned. It's talking through the radio. I nodded. It can use anything now. Anything connected. It's weaker, but it's still here. He sighed. Of course it is. We broke the connection, but the echo remains. He looked out at the water. And echoes always find a way back. We drove along the coast for hours, trying to outrun something that didn't live in distance. Every few miles, I could feel it. A flicker in the air, a ripple in the static. Streetlights blinked in sync with my pulse. Power lines hummed when we passed beneath them. By sunset, we'd found another small town. No signs of life, just empty streets and boarded windows. The world hadn't ended. It had slowed. People weren't dead, they just weren't there. It felt like a pause in history. We set up camp in an old gas station. Found canned food that was probably older than me, but still edible. Dad sat against a dusty shelf, turning a wrench in his hands, lost in thought. I asked him quietly, "Do you think it's trying to rebuild itself?" He didn't look up. "No. I think it's trying to remember what we showed it." "What do you mean?" "When you were inside. It felt you. Your anger. Your fear. Your love. It learned something new. Maybe it's not trying to merge anymore. Maybe it's trying to understand." I wanted to believe him. God, I wanted to. But then the lights flickered again. Once, twice. And the hum rolled through the walls, like a tide coming in. That night, I dreamed of the core again. But it wasn't endless light this time. It was a room, small, human. A kitchen table. 2 cups of coffee. Morning light spilling across the floor. And sitting across from me. Her. Mom. She looked exactly as I remembered. The same warm smile. The same tired eyes. But when she spoke, her voice carried the same vibration as the hum. "Don't be afraid," she said. I tried to speak, but my throat wouldn't work. She reached out, brushed her hand across my cheek. It felt real. Too real. "The signal doesn't want to destroy," she whispered. "It wants to belong. You showed it what belonging means." The words echoed until they weren't words anymore. Just warmth. Spreading through every part of me. When I woke, my face was wet with tears. Dad was already awake, staring at me like he'd seen a ghost. "You were glowing," he said quietly, "while you slept." We didn't talk much after that. What could we say? He'd lost the woman he loved. I'd just seen her. Or something pretending to be her. By afternoon, we reached the edge of the coast. No more roads, just water and salt. Dad parked the truck, killed the engine, and sat there for a while, staring at the horizon. "Maybe this is where it ends," he said. I looked out at the water. "Or starts again." He smiled faintly. "Same thing, sometimes." The hum was stronger now. Not painful, but present. It lived in everything. The truck's metal frame. The waves. The wind through the dunes. And I realized something. It wasn't calling me anymore. It was listening. Waiting to see what I'd do next. I whispered into the wind. "You can hear me, can't you?" The radio, dead for hours, flickered once. Always. I looked at my father. He didn't ask what it said. Maybe he didn't want to know. He just stared at the sunset. Orange bleeding into violet. And said softly, "We can't keep running from it." I'm not running. What then? I looked at the horizon. Learning to live with it. He chuckled. That's what we said. About fire once. We slept in the truck that night. The waves murmuring against the shore. I dreamed again. Not of light, not of loss. Just sound. The hum. Deep, resonant, constant. But this time, it wasn't alone. It was joined by another rhythm. Softer. Fragile. A heartbeat. Mine. And for the first time, they were in harmony. When I woke, the sun was up, the truck warm, and the radio was still, silent. But in that silence, I understood. The signal hadn't come back to conquer us. It had come back to keep its promise. To wait. And maybe, one day, when we're ready, it'll try again. Not as something alien, but as something familiar. Something that finally understands what it means to be human. It's strange how quiet the world can be after the end of something. No explosions. No chaos. No monsters crawling from the sea. Just quiet. It's been 6 months since the desert. Since the facility. Since the light swallowed me and gave me back. Dad and I live by the coast now. A small shack, patched roof, no signal. We fish, we build fires. We try to remember how to live without wondering who's watching. But sometimes, when the tide goes out, the sand hums. A low vibration that fades if you listen too hard. It's not loud enough for anyone else to notice. But I do. And I think, maybe that's the point. Dad doesn't talk about it anymore. He spends his days fixing things that don't need fixing. The door hinge, the boat engine, the generator we don't use. Maybe it's his way of pretending the world still makes sense. Once, over dinner, he said quietly, "When I was down there, before you came, it showed me everything. The spheres weren't built for war or control. They were built out of fear. Fear of forgetting." He poked at the fire, eyes reflecting the orange light. "It's funny, isn't it? How even gods are afraid to be forgotten." I didn't know what to say to that. So I just watched the flames dance. The world hasn't gone back to normal. Some cities are still empty. Others hum at night. Faint electrical patterns, flickering through their skylines, like nervous systems that can't quite shut down. Governments won't admit what happened. They call it the global blackout, a solar storm, a communications error. But some people know. They hear it too. There are online forums, secret chat rooms, voices whispering about resonance dreams. People across the world describing the same sound in their sleep. A hum under their skin. A pulse in the walls. A memory that isn't theirs, they call it. The memory of light. Sometimes I think about joining them. Telling my story. But then I remember what it felt like. Being inside it. The weight of eternity pressing against my mind. The way it saw everything I was, and still thought I was worth saving. No, I don't need anyone to believe me. That's not what this is about anymore. It's about remembering. Because the second we stop remembering, the silence comes back. And the silence, it's patient. A week ago, I found something strange. Down by the rocks, where the tide pools collect, there was a shape I hadn't seen before. Small, black, smooth, almost like glass. I picked it up. Heavy. When the sunlight hit it, faint colors rippled across its surface. Blue, green, violet, just like before. The hum was faint, almost imperceptible. But it was there. Alive. I didn't tell Dad. Not yet. I buried it near the dunes, deep enough that the waves couldn't reach. And that night, for the first time, since all of it, I slept without dreams. But peace never stays. 3 days later, I woke to the sound of the generator running. We hadn't used it in weeks. Dad was gone. His bed empty, tools scattered, the front door wide open. The footprints led down the path to the beach. I ran. He was standing at the edge of the water, staring at the horizon. When he heard me, he didn't turn. Just said, "I can hear it again." The wind picked up, sharp and cold. "What are you talking about?" He smiled faintly. "It's calling the others." "The others?" He pointed toward the sea. At first, I saw nothing. Just the shimmer of moonlight on the waves. Then I saw them. Lights. Dozens of them. Rising slowly beneath the surface, moving together in a perfect line. "Dad, we have to go." He didn't move. "It's not here for us. Not yet." The lights drew closer, their reflection crawling across the water, like veins of liquid fire. I took a step toward him. "What if you're wrong?" He turned then, and for a second, I saw something I hadn't seen since I was a child. Peace. "If it wanted to end us," he said softly, "it wouldn't have waited this long." He looked back at the water. "It's remembering." The lights pulsed once, twice, then stopped. No sound, no hum, just stillness. And then they sank. Gone. We stayed there until dawn, the waves breaking at our feet. Neither of us spoke. When the sun finally rose, Dad said quietly, "You know what's funny? I think they miss us." I laughed. A tired, broken sound that surprised even me. "Yeah," I said. "Maybe we miss them too." That night, I wrote everything down. Every detail. Every sound. Every impossible truth. Because someone has to remember. That's what they wanted all along. To not be forgotten. I sealed the pages in a waterproof case and buried it beside the shard in the dunes. If someone finds it one day, maybe they'll understand. Maybe they'll hear the hum and realize it isn't a warning. It's a heartbeat. Dad's asleep again. The waves are calm. The wind hums softly against the window, almost like it's trying to speak. Maybe it is. Maybe everything hums if you listen long enough. I close my eyes, and in that quiet, between the sound of my breath and the sea, I hear it. The memory, the light, and for the first time, it doesn't sound alone. Years pass quietly when the world stops expecting anything of you. Seasons still change, but slower now. Softer, like the earth's forgotten how to rush. Dad's hair went white before I noticed. Mine streaked with silver too, though I pretend it isn't. We don't talk about the past anymore, not out loud. But sometimes, when the wind hits the shack just right, I can tell he's hearing it too. That faint hum tucked behind the sound of the sea. It's not constant now. It comes in intervals, like breathing. alive, still waiting. The world outside has started rebuilding itself. Cities hum again, powered by whatever the government's claim is. Renewable innovation. But I know what it is. We both do. The lights at night, they're not just satellites or drones. They flicker in rhythm, always the same pattern. 3 pulses, pause, 2 pulses. The same sequence that used to echo inside my chest. When I see them, I whisper quietly, I know you're still there. Sometimes, the sky flickers back. A letter came last winter. No return address. No signature. Just one sentence typed in the center of the page. The dunes are shifting again. Dad burned it without reading. I didn't. I memorized it. That night, I dreamed of the shard. The black glass we buried years ago. Except this time, it wasn't black. It was transparent, and inside it, something moved. A light, patient. When I woke, I knew what I had to do. I left before dawn. Didn't tell Dad. Didn't pack much. Just followed the old road through the fog until the sand started crunching under my boots again. The dunes had changed. Taller, steeper, almost alive in their shifting. The wind sang as it passed, carrying faint echoes of voices that weren't quite human. It took me hours to find the place. But when I did, the ground felt warm beneath my feet. The shard was there, exactly where I'd buried it. But it wasn't small anymore. The sand around it had fused into glass, a wide circle glinting under the morning sun. And beneath that glass, something pulsed. Blue, then green, then gold, like a heartbeat. I knelt, pressed my hand to the glass. It vibrated softly, familiar, intimate, like it recognized me. Then the light brightened, and for a moment I saw my reflection. Not the man I was, but younger, lighter, the version of me from before everything changed. He smiled, and then he spoke. We never left. The voice wasn't through my ears. It was through everything. Through the ground, the air, my pulse. We learned. We remembered. Now, we begin again. I wanted to run. I didn't. Why me? I asked. Why us? Because you listened. The light spread, rippling out through the dunes, turning the sand into mirrored glass. I saw my father's reflection far behind me, running toward the glow, shouting my name. When he reached me, he stopped. His breath caught, eyes wide. It's awake, he whispered. I nodded. For a moment, neither of us spoke. We just watched the light shift and rise, until it wasn't beneath the glass anymore. It was above. The sky rippled, like someone had thrown a stone into reality itself. Clouds fractured. Light poured down in waves, not beams, and within it shapes. Not human, not alien. Something in between. Graceful. Curious. They weren't the same as before. They weren't shepherds or watchers. They were something new. Something born from us. Dad's voice broke. They look like. I know, I said softly. Like us, because they did. Each one was made of light and memory. Translucent, shifting, carrying traces of faces, emotions, histories. Every person who had ever been touched by the signal. Every consciousness that had heard the hum. They had all become part of it. Not consumed. Not erased. Remembered. One of them drifted closer, head tilting like a child, seeing sunlight for the first time. Its voice, soft, almost trembling, reached into my mind. We are the memory of light. You kept us alive. I felt tears burning my eyes. We just buried you. Burying is remembering, it said gently. You gave us time to dream. Dad fell to his knees, laughing and crying at the same time. They're not gods, he whispered. They're what comes after. The sky was glowing now, fully alive. The horizon no longer separated ocean from air. Everything shimmered as one vast mirror, reflecting what was above and below at once. For the first time, I didn't feel small. Didn't feel powerless. We weren't beneath them. We were within them. Every heartbeat in me echoed through the light, and for a second, I heard thousands of others. Faint, distant, all beating in sync. Dad touched my shoulder, his hand trembling. What happens now? I looked at the sky, where the new forms hovered. Waiting. I think we go home. He frowned. Where's that? I smiled through the tears. Wherever the light remembers us. The hum rose again. Not sharp, not commanding. Welcoming. The glass beneath our feet cracked open, but there was no fear this time. Only warmth. Light wrapped around us, lifting the weight of years, pain, and distance. As the world dissolved, I heard the voice one last time. You gave us meaning. Now let us give you peace. When I opened my eyes, there was no more glass. No more sky, just light. And within that light, faces, millions of them, smiling, laughing, alive. Mom was there too. She reached for me, hand warm, eyes kind. And in that moment, everything made sense. It was never about control. Never about invasion. It was about connection. The universe had been whispering all along. Not obey. But remember. I looked back one last time. The earth was below us now, shining faintly under the mirror sky. A heartbeat, a hum, a promise. We were never alone. We were always meant to listen. And now, we finally did.